When I first joined CompTIA, I want to say 5 years ago, but it's been more like six. Right away, I had our product management team and others analyze our certifications, we noticed that there was already a significant portion of security in those certifications. And by that, I'm talking about like A plus. We noticed that it was over 20%. It was more like 26% of A plus was dedicated to security. It was higher in Network plus. We saw the same thing in Server Plus and all the infrastructure certs. Linux, for example, same thing. That's only increased over time. And I think you're right. There's a couple of reasons, I think, for that shift. First of all, it's really expensive to hire that security guru, right? And especially if that security guru doesn't feel strong in running infrastructure. Remember, security has a particular business function, and that's to monitor and overview, not run things generally. So what you need is nowadays a server administrator or a cloud administrator or a systems person to be very strong in the security side of things so that they can reduce cost, be much more efficient, and help with that separation of duties. In other words, if you don't have separation of duties, you end up with problems because it is the job of an IT administrator, whether that be a cloud person or whatever, to provide services. You know what I mean? It's her job to say, okay, I'm going to make that CRM or that web server, that email server, and it's going to run really well. And as a result, if you have that focus, you get yourself in trouble because you will inadvertently or maybe even on purpose skip certain security steps because it slows things down. And so you need somebody who comes in behind all of that and say, okay, let's talk about and work on the security implications. And those two people usually should report, not always, but often should report to a different person, because that way you don't get into a struggle where one is always subservient to the other. And usually security, for all the talk that we've heard over the years, tends to be the second and last consideration. We live downstream from the decision. And if you have a cloud worker, if you have an IT worker who then understands security, they will preload a lot of that thinking and change a lot of that mentality so that they can then work really well with security administrator. That's the dream, and there are some organizations that get it right. It can be a little tough though. And the more that we can have people combine security, that's really good, and with infrastructure in their thinking, that's great. But it doesn't necessarily obviate that separation of duties concept.